Hello everybody, I am WhitlerFam and welcome back to the channel. Again, a long gap between videos, I know. Life has been busy since I've opened a game shop here in my small town, and it's been fun, and it's been a lot of work, but I'm ready to get back into making videos every now and then. Who knows if I'll ever get onto a schedule, but today's video is very exciting because I am very excited for not only the new Lost Origin standard format, but also going back to my home away from hometown, Peoria, Illinois. That's right, the Peoria Regional Championship is on its way in just a few weeks, actually less than 2 weeks away from the Peoria Regional Championship. And I am super excited to get started on covering some decks today. After all, we do have some awesome new cards like Chorus Experiment and Mirage Gate coming in the format, along with some cool Vs and V stars. And today I'm just going to cover some of the decks, in my opinion, that are some of the best going forward. And as you can tell with some of these cards I've got here with me today, obviously I'm very excited for the Lost Zone and the aforementioned cards that are involved in some decks like that. So we'll just get started with some of the decks, and I want to make a quick mention as well. If you like what you see today, you want to hit the like button and perhaps subscribe to the channel. I like to do a lot of retro content. I'm really into 2010 and 2017 formats, but let me know what you think. If there's other stuff you want me to cover, if you think that I am game enough for covering standard format, let me know what you think. Maybe I will keep on covering that. Without further ado, we'll just get going here. And I want to take a quick mention of this deck. This is the Baltimore Regional's first place list. This is Piper Lapine's list. Very, very good player, very good list. Very well covered in that tournament. I don't think anybody was prepared for something as powerful as just a one prize deck taking down the whole tournament. And I want to make quick mention of it because I do think it's very, very good. That being said, going into the Lost Origin format, I call this an honorable mention because I do think Radiant Charizard gets a little bit weaker due to a card called Lost City. Very powerful stadium card that when either player's Pokemon gets knocked out, it gets sent to the Lost Zone. And you can only have one copy of Charizard, and boy howdy, that really nerfs the card there. Now, of course, you can play around that. You could just be really focusing on attacking with the Inteleons, but again, you're going to have to play more copies, especially if you do not get the Stadium bump. So keep that in mind. I don't think people are going to just give up on Charizard Inteleon or Charizard in general. I think it's a very good card. It's a good finisher card. You wait to play it. Wait for the opportune moment to play Radiant Charizard. And that can't be... It can't be undersold. It's a very, very good card going forward in the format. So, especially playing the double Raihan there, playing with the cross switcher, scoop up nets, and the Manaphy to protect you from bench damage from decks such as Rapid Strike Urshifu, as well as maybe a mirror match with the Inteleon doing Aqua Bullet 120 and 20. Big important deal for this deck. Inteleon using Aqua Bullet to do 120. Going into the Mew VMAX matchup, this is very helpful because that is a math fixer going into that matchup. So they either have to play Cheryl, or they have to use Psychic Leap to heal the Mew VMAX going back into deck. So I just wanted to give a quick mention of this deck and to the player who made an awesome deep run in the tournament, taking it down. Radiant Charizard, first place finish. Kudos to you. Now, these are my top 5 lists. I have a few extra lists here, but my number 5 pick for Peoria Regionals is a deck that I haven't given much testing. It's because I don't have all the cards quite yet. And for me personally, I have really liked Palkia Inteleon. A little spoiler there for some of our top 5. Palkia Inteleon's been very, very solid. I am concerned that it will get hard countered by the likes of Arceus and Flying Pikachu and the Jolteon decks, or even a Palkia list playing the Jolteon itself with the Memory Capsule, which just shuts off all Water Pokemon's abilities on your opponent's side. So Very, very detrimental. And I still think that Jolteon can do some damage to this deck. Despite all this, I think a water box style deck like this, Kyurem VMAX, Origin Form Palkia V-Star, Radiant Greninja, and the one Empoleon V, don't sleep on that card. Bust it out of your binders. It's going to be really good for Peoria, because I think a lot of people are going to be relying on single prize decks, in particular Lost Zone decks, with the Lost Box, as we've come to call it. It uses the Cramorant, it uses the Comfey, it uses the Sableye. But they can't use any of those abilities if you open with the Empoleon V and you just stick it in the active. So you're going to see why it's super important for a lot of lists to start including the Escape Rope. Even other decks that want to use single prize Pokemon abilities, such as the Oranguru. Oranguru is so important to how Kyurem VMAX gets working, because you're running more water energy, and you're putting the water energy back on top of your deck, and you're getting it cheated into play thanks to Kyurem VMAX's ability, Glaciated World. You can discard the top card of your deck. If it's a water energy, attach it to one of your Pokemon instead. Really cool ability. I think Kyurem is definitely prepping to be a very, very good deck. Aside from the metal matchups or whoever decides to tech in a metal Pokemon in their deck, I do think Kyurem VMAX is going to sweep. It's probably going to make a lot of day 2 spots. This is probably a really good pick for going day 2. I'm not 100% sure this is going to win the event. I think that comes down to the skill of the player. I think that comes down to the familiarity of the list, or just having a hammered out list. I know Azul GG has been playing heavy Oranguru, heavy Kyurem VMAX, no Palkia in his list. I think that sort of middle ground list, though, is going to be what's going to take it, because I think a little bit of both is going to be good, because if you're relying only on your 3 prize Pokemon attacking, Kyurem VMAX, 2 of them knocked out, is you're out of the game. So Origin Form Palkia, really awesome. Empoleon V, really awesome. So this is my number 5 pick. The only reason I'm not rating it higher is I don't have a lot of experience with it personally in my testing. And I don't know if I'm going to have much time to test with it. Also, quick note, the Drapion V, counter for the Mew VMAX, because I think Mew VMAX is still going to be a popular deck. So I'm going to flip over to number 4. This is the deck that, actually, it's not this specific list for what won NAIC this past year, but this is a take on that, because it's shoving it all into one list. This is a list, I believe, that was from, let's see, it's 4th place from the special event Bilbao. That's Owen Kamerman's list, and this shoves everything into the Arceus list, because Arceus can do that. Arceus sets up your attackers. Flying Pikachu V with free retreat, as well as the Flying Pikachu VMAX with Max Balloon, stops basic Pokemon from attacking. So they're going to need a pivot. They're going to need to go into another Pokemon to attack. Crobat V for a draw engine, as well as Crobat VMAX to also be a good matchup into Mew VMAX, because I think, again, Mew is going to be popular. People are still going to play it. It's definitely on my list for picks for the event. And Decidueye. Hisuian Decidueye V and V-Star, still an awesome card, and good in the mirror match against Arceus. I just don't think enough Arceus players are putting the Dunsparce in there. So if you're worried about fighting Pokemon, maybe think about putting the Dunsparce in your list to protect you from weakness. And then, of course, this 2-2 Jolteon line with the 2 memory capsule. Let's be honest, I don't think Pokemon players are playing Tool Scrapper in their list. And if they're not playing Scrapper, and they're playing an Inteleon engine, or they're playing Palkia V-Star, or Kyurem VMAX, I think Memory Capsule on Jolteon is going to make some people have some feels bad moments. So my number 4 pick for the event going forward for the Peoria Regionals is going to be this Arceus Pikachu list. Very, very solid. And of course, Path to the Peak. Again, another thing to slow down the Mew players. So Mew players want to keep that in mind. Path is not gone. Path is still around. Perhaps it's not going to be in a lot of lists, but it's probably going to be in those Arceus lists. My number 3 pick. This is the deck I've been playing so much. I've been practicing so much. I've got several variations, and I'm not 100% certain on the one I like the most, but this is the variant that won first place at the Singapore Regionals last week. We had a Regionals that gives us a nice little litmus test of what Lost Origin might look like here in a couple weeks. Now, that was a 130 player event. This is going to be a much bigger event, and I do predict, I predict a most popular deck is going to be this Lost Box list. It's going to be so many variations. There are going to be variations where they just focus on the Cramorant and the Sableye. They're going to be lists that have the Cramorant with the teched in cards like the Zeraora V or the Drapion V. Perhaps the Manaphy to protect from bench sniping. There are going to be lists that play Giratina V-Star. There are going to be lists that play Radiant Charizard. Or maybe some form of amazing rare Pokemon like Reshiram or Raikou. You get what I'm saying. The possibilities are lost, so to speak, in where you can go with this. I think this is a very, very solid start. I think if you really want to counter Palkia going into the event, you want to play the Zeraora. I think if you want to counter Mew, you at least want to play one Drapion V. That's not to say it's going to completely counter the deck. I think skilled Mew players are still going to work around this list. I myself have been testing a lot with single prize list, as well as a few other Vs and V-Stars and V-Maxes that keep going in and out of the list. I'm trying to figure out where I like my list right now. And this is pretty good inspiration. I might be giving this some more testing just because it has a lot of merit considering it won the event. The one Raihan in the list is very interesting. I have not been playing Raihan in my Lost Box lists. I have been instead going with Hand Disruption like Marnie and Roxanne, because I think it is worthy of playing in the late game after you've played your Colress, after you've gone Comfey, Scoop Up Net, Comfey, Escape Rope, Comfey. You get the idea. It's just crazy, crazy, crazy. Another thing I've noticed is a lot of people are playing Capture Energy. I've not been playing Capture Energy myself. I think the Battle VIP Pass, 3 to 4 of them, is very, very solid, as well as the Radiant Greninja just giving you that extra draw there. So I don't necessarily feel like I need the Capture Energy. But again, this list is a winning list, so perhaps you want to take it from them instead of me. Now, I'm going to number 2 with 2 different decks because I think Mew VMAX is in an interesting spot. The Mew VMAX list here that is doing really well is this new kind of list that came out here in the last month, a couple weeks ago. This Mew VMAX list playing only the double Turbo Energy and the 4 Pokestap. Essentially, a Turbo Mew list, as opposed to the previous Turbo Mew list, which was the Fusion Strike Energy, Meloetta, Elsa Sparkle, that sort of list. So I'm kind of at odds with myself. My number 2 spot for my top 5 picks going to Peoria is Mew VMAX, but I'm not personally invested in this style engine. I think there's a lot to be said about it. It's very good. It's very aggressive. It's very fast. But you lose against Arc Duraludon. And if Arc Duraludon players decide to come out of the woodwork, because every time a format changes, Arc Duraludon seems to rear its giant tower of a head again. And there's nothing a Mew player playing only double Turbo Energy can do about it, unless they play Path to the Peak, and you don't want to play Path to the Peak to stop them. So, despite this being very, very good, especially with the 2 Avery, the 2 bosses, the Silene to recycle stuff, the Rotom Phone to manipulate the top deck, as well as the Palpad and the Echoing Horn to essentially help you get around the Arc Dura matchup, I think it's very, very difficult to play with just double Turbo Energy. And I think that Mew VMAX is evolving yet again. Maybe you can't reinvent the wheel completely, but I say to that, nay, because Lost City is coming out, and I think players can switch back to the Meloetta engine safely. Me personally, I'm sticking with the Meloetta engine. I'm sticking with the Pumpkaboo. I'm sticking with the Rose Tower, perhaps a copy of Pokestop, but I also think a copy of Lost City is going to be very good because you're going to stop Radiant Charizard, because you're going to Lost Zone away Precious one Pokemon that they could only afford to tech one copy of a Pokemon in there. And you can play around that. You can play the Meloetta. You can hit with one prizers and as well as go aggressive with the Mew VMAX. Now, I've also tested around with a few other versions of Mew VMAX, and this one is the one I keep going back to. I've dabbled around with the idea of playing Metal Energy and Genesect V. It's a good idea. It's a cute idea if you think Kyurem VMAX is going to be a super popular deck list. I don't think it's going to be as popular as Lost Box, and for that reason, I'm going to be sticking with this Meloetta Elsa Sparkle Fusion Strike Energy list as the, personally, I think the better option going forward, as well as a couple copies of Lost City, because I think it's going to really shake up the deck. And Mew doesn't recycle Pokemon back into their deck unless you're playing the Silene, but you're not worried about getting Pokemon back. You're just not going to do it. I'm even thinking about that Deoxys that's Single Strike, Fusion Strike, Rapid Strike, all the things. I'm thinking about that as a possible include, as just another one-prize Pokemon to shore up those one-prize matchups. Maybe it's not going to be worth it. Maybe Lost Box turns out to be way better than Mew. Maybe Mew Fusion Strike is old hat now. Who knows? All I know is this is my comfort pick for my number 2 pick for Peoria going in. And my number 1 pick is still the undisputed best deck in format, the OG Palkia V-Star Inteleon list. This deck has it all. It has the Irida, it has the Melanie, it has the Roxanne and Marnie to disrupt your opponent late game, it cross-switchers, Radiant Greninja, Manaphy to protect your own bench, perhaps in mirror matches or from the Rapid Strike Urshifu players, as well as Path to the Peak and Training Court, Echoing Horn, the Tool Scrapper. Please don't drop your Tool Scrappers from your list. If you want to stop Jolteon, you need to play Tool Scrapper in your list. Just one will keep you in the game if you just keep it in hand. I think this is a very, very good deck. I think a lot of people are also going to be targeting this list. The reason I think they're going to be targeting it is because it's still considered that best deck in format. And because of that, it has a target painted on its back. Perhaps you don't want to play a deck like that. But if you want to play the best deck in the format, look no further than Palkia V-Star Inteleon. This is going to be the deck that's going to make a lot of day 2 spots. It's going to be a very solid pick. And I wouldn't be surprised if it also won the event against the unsuspecting of players. Do I think it's going to win for sure? No. Do I think it's going to make top 8? At least one spot's going to make top 8. That's going to do it for my lists. Those are my top 5 picks. Again, really interesting stuff here with the Palkia V-Star, with the different Mew VMAX takes. You know, just continuing to innovate with that. And this Lost Box. Like, man, oh man, I'm preparing myself for another 2019 Zapdos Jirachi situation where I played in that regionals. I swear I played 5 just Zapdos Jirachi, and it's probably going to be the same thing here. You're probably going to play against a bunch of different Lost Zone boxes, and you won't even know. They're probably all going to be different variants when you play them. So thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully I keep on making videos. I really do hope I keep doing this. It's a lot of fun when I do this and when I'm not super, super busy, and I can get back to the YouTube. Again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a good day.